Okay, welcome to the Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast. Today's guest, fresh out of the NAHL, North American Hockey League, now with Alvesta in Hockeyettan, Victor Widlund. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the U.S. market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
So I kind of connected with you after an initiative that I had on looking at players, and we're doing a series here now of players that played in the NAHL or USHL that are Swedes either this season, last season, and talking about their experiences and so on. So why don't we start? I'm going to ask you, put you on the spot right here, and start with who is Victor Widlund. Give yourself an introduction.
Yeah, I was actually born in Stockholm, but my parents moved to Gothenburg pretty early, and I grew up 20 minutes outside in a town called Lerum. Yeah, my dad used to play hockey, so got into that pretty quick, and loved it since day one. So grew up there, played home in Lerum until like U15.
Yeah.
When I moved to Frolunda.
Västergötland hockey puck? TV puck, I mean?
No, I played for Gothenburg, actually.
Gothenburg they have their separate.
Yeah, the same as Stockholm.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been hockey for almost my entire life. I played soccer, or football, as we call it. That's the correct name. And then even handball when I was younger, but hockey was the choice for me. So
nice. 2002 birth year, forward 5. If we're looking at elite prospects, 5'11", 183, not a bad size. In elite prospects, of course, Lerum up to U16, but then, so you switched your first year U16? No, yeah. So you played.
I switched my U15 year.
Yep.
So I played 2 years U16 for Frolunda, and then 2 years U18, and then 2 years U20.
So that year, 2002, not a bad birth year for Frölunda. Even back then, Lucas Raymond, Lucas Edmonds, Elmer Söderblom, to name a few. Who else is were on that year that maybe should have been mentioned? Those are just the ones on elite prospects that are their draft picks.
I mean, it's only Lucas Raymond who is 2002. The other guys are 2001s. And we got Daniel Torgerson, or Daniel Torgerson. I don't know if you know about him. He came the year after, plays in the AHL for Winnipeg right now. And I think it might be a couple of other guys playing, not that I can come up with right now, but probably these guys who like made it furthest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at that U16, first year U16 in Frölunda, so let's look at the fall season here. So you are that's pretty amazing. 23 games, 18 points, and you are number 11.
Yeah.
That's pretty amazing. So you had Isak Andersson, 19 games, 58 points.
Yeah. I mean, that guy can shoot the puck for sure.
Yeah. And okay, Mora, he played Mora now in Vimmerby, but pretty impressive resume for sure.
Yeah.
But so you're right there with Raymond, and okay, well, maybe he had 37 points, you had 18, but still, it's pretty fun so how many of those guys ended up going to, because you ended up keep going into NIU in gymnasium with Frölunda?
Yeah.
So how many of the guys that played U16 with Frölunda ended up staying in Frölunda for gymnasium?
I think from that team, maybe around 10 to 12, maybe. I'm not sure.
That's pretty
But
strong, though.
yeah, it was a lot of guys. And I know that Frolunda likes to take their like own products like from the Gothenburg area. So it's often that they pick up a lot of guys from the U16 team.
Yeah. And so how was that? I mean, were you did you know right away that you were going to make it, or were you, with
I
that
mean,
height of a competition, that's got to be nervous about making that squad?
that year, like I still had 1 year left in like school before going into the gymnasium. So I knew like I wouldn't make it that year because I still like that wasn't my year to go in.
Yeah.
So I was not like really nervous about it then. But the year after, even though you played the team like 1 year before, like new guys come up and like show competition, but I felt like at that time I was pretty sure I was gonna get in, even though through the years my confidence went a little bit lower. But at the time I had pretty good confidence of getting in. And it was like around Christmas the year after, that year we were talking about, that I knew that I was getting a spot in the hockey gymnasium.
How does that work? Because actually I don't know. How do you find out? Is that a conversation one-to-one, or you get a letter, or how does it work?
No, it was a meeting. The coach or like the guy who makes the choices of who's getting in and stuff. Or I mean, it's a lot of guys. Like the person who is has the responsibility about it set a meeting with me and my parents, and after that, uh, or in that meeting, they told me that they wanted me to play for them for 3 more years. So
How was
at
that?
the time, I mean, it was exciting, pretty much more relief than exciting. That's grown up around in the Gothenburg area. That's what almost every Frolunda fan wants to do. So it was a great moment for me, but it was like kind of a relief. Like now I can play, and I know I'm getting better those 3 years if I want to myself. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mentioned this offline, Frölunda. Is it an overstatement for me to say that Frölunda is one of the best junior teams in the world?
I would agree with you. I mean, obviously they get a lot of players drafted every year, so they got to do something to like, even though it's very attractive to get into the gymnasium there, it's still like they gotta develop the players. So they obviously doing something good, because otherwise they wouldn't have that many players getting drafted and play in the NHL or SHL or Hockeyallsvenskan.
Yeah, and maybe it's really it's hard, tough question or statement to support, because J20 national with USHL or the NTDP, it's not the same age group. They don't play each other. You don't play the same system. You don't play the same rink. But I don't know if you took Frölunda's J20 team and how would they stack up against a USHL team with the same age group. I don't know.
No, me neither. It's hard. It's hard to compare. I mean, it's a different style of hockey.
Yep.
I think since the Americans are used to the smaller rink, they would have a little bit easier with like the attacking hockey in on the big ice. But I think the biggest difference is the defense, like
Yep.
getting over and stuff. So it's hard to say. It's different styles of hockey.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So 3 years there. What's it like then, the environment? Of course, one of the best facilities out there, best coaches, very, very consistent message all the way from juniors all the way up to the elite club in the SHL. A path for juniors to move up. But because it's the best, it attracts the best players. That's got to be a competitive environment.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the compete on every practice is really high, and you learn from other guys. And I mean, through the years, you always find like your buddies, and you want to compete like extra against everyone. And it was a great time for me. But
So
at the same time, like if you're like you're still learning from the guys, but you got to work harder because it shows in the lineup. Like if you don't play as much, you want to work harder as well. And I think that's a good thing for Frolunda, that the players got to work harder to keep their like position in the lineup. So
yeah, and the common Swedish mentality is, it's not necessarily nice to be cocky and to take more, but everybody should share and nobody should stick out and that kind of stuff. How was that in Frölunda? A little bit different?
I mean, both. I mean, it's still like I kind of realized that when I got to the US and played, that I gotta be like thinking more about myself and not the other like guys around. Like I want to be better than anyone, and they obviously are gonna want to be better than me. So, but for sure, people are all like the best players are getting there. So people think that they are the best, and that makes the compete better in practice.
Yeah.
But still, like you're not really in Sweden, as you said, you're not really allowed to be cocky, and like if you are, you kind of like looks like a bad person. And I'm gonna admit, I'm like at the age I was not really the cocky one, so I kind of didn't like the cocky players too. But like getting older, you realize why people are cocky. Like you gotta be there that to get to reach your dreams.
Yeah, and it's a little bit of, there's a difference between cocky and confidence, and sometimes the difference isn't that far away.
No. I mean, you gotta have a little bit of both. Like you gotta be cocky enough to be confident in yourself. But if you're cocky, that no one likes you, you're never gonna fit into a team. So you gotta find like the balance in that, and still stay humble and like work hard and treat your teammates well outside the ice. And like
yeah. So here's an interesting, now in terms of kind of a natural just the way it works in a big organization like that, and with the amount of competition, there's only so many spots on the SHL team. And I can read the tea leaves a little bit here, but you got loaned out so during your last year in Frölunda, you also got to play 16 games in Hockeyettan.
Yeah.
With Hanhals, who's in Göteborg, Gothenburg. And how was that? Because you didn't get to play in the SHL.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of get pretty early if you're like a name to play in the SHL. Like you get like how the talk goes. Like if you're good enough, you're gonna play a lot in the U20s. And I played, but I didn't play as much as the guys who were up practicing with the pro team. So I kind of realized I have to do something else to keep my development going. And I knew that players before got loaned out, and they asked me before the season when I signed my contract for the last year in U20. They asked me if I wanted to get a loan, and I didn't hesitate 1 second and said yes right away, because I knew that would be good experience. I always, like, growing up, I was like doing a lot of points, but when I got to the competitive, um, like, what do you say? My English is a little bit rusty, but when you get to the to a group of guys where everyone is like the best in the country, it's hard for you to like stay that player. So I kind of
Yeah,
switched to a more hardworking guy, doing 100% all the time, and like playing penalty kill and stuff like that. Didn't really play much power play, so I knew that like I gotta do something to like keep my career going. And my dad always told me that I'm more of a like senior hockey player than a junior. Like, I don't really do the flashy stuff because I was never really confident in myself to do it. So, that was a good way for me to stay positive, and it was actually one of the best things that happened to me, to get it, like, see how it works, how like the senior hockey works.
absolutely. So when did you start thinking about testing it out here in the North American, system?
I mean, I knew about it pretty early, like maybe my second year in U18, but wasn't really sure. But I kind of kept it going, and like had my options open. And then I got the chance after my U20, and I looked at it as a great experience, even though I didn't know what was gonna happen. So,
How did that walk me through kind of how that came about? What did because what people need to understand is that North American Hockey League teams themselves and player developments, general managers aren't scouting directly and watching games even at the J20 National in Sweden. They just got too
yeah,
many players to worry about. But
yeah.
who kind of got you to? Did you initiate that, or was it a scout or a advisor that said, "Hey, you may want to try this out"?
I mean, it was an advisor that helped me to get in contact with the coach for the Wendigo that I play for, and then I kind of kept the the talk with both of them, and got drafted uh, by them. And then yeah, I what do you say? I'm sorry. I did the stuff that I needed to do to get over, like with the visa and stuff. And
Yeah, the ESTA and
yeah,
it was probably a little bit. I mean, so that was was that right after COVID, or was that in COVID? That was the year after
no,
COVID.
it was after COVID, so it was a little bit easier, but still had to go to Poland for 4 or 5 days and like get it there. So it was a lot of traveling, but it was totally worth it.
Yeah. So you got invited to so you got drafted, and then they want you to come to main camp. Did you
Yeah,
know did you know anything about North American Hockey League main camp and how that works?
I had no idea. To be honest, but I didn't really have any expectations as well, because I didn't want to put like the expectations too high. So I came over there with like the mindset of I'm gonna have a fun year, and whatever the hockey takes me, because I wasn't really happy with myself and the hockey the last year back home. So I saw it as a new experience, and I kind of wanted a fresh start. So, and I kept the motto that like whatever happens, Gothenburg is still there. So, and that kind of kept me going in the beginning, because it was tough. You get there and there's a lot of games in a short amount of time. So,
How many teams did they? So walk, because we had this conversation with some others, and I think it's cool to kind of compare experiences. Did they gather everybody out up in a gym or in the rink and divide it up in teams?
no, they kind of had the teams set before.
But how many teams
Uh,
was there in the beginning?
8 maybe. I'm not sure, to be honest. I
Okay.
think it was 6 or 8.
Okay, that's not that many. I've heard as many as 20 teams at some main camps.
Oh, oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of players.
Yeah. I know when we were talking to Malte Hasselgren, he said first year when he went to Lone Star, they had 10 teams there.
Yeah.
So 8 teams. Okay, so you had 8 teams. You go in the locker room, you get your jersey, you go in the locker room, and a little different feeling, maybe?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm Swedish and everyone else is Canadian or American. It was not a lot of Canadians, but like some players were, and coming there and like, everyone looking at you because you're like not from the same country as they are, and like people wanted to ask you and stuff, and it was fun, but I was like so nervous in the beginning and I didn't like know anything about it. Had to ask like people about everything. So it was tough, but it was still like kind of a cool experience getting there and like no one know about you more than like maybe checking your stats.
Yeah.
So it was cool, and it kind of felt nice that like I don't have any expectations on me because no one have ever seen me play hockey before.
Yeah. And then, but you were drafted, and everybody probably knew that you were drafted because during those main camps, you got draft picks, you got tenders, or you got tenders, draft picks, returners, and then you've got free agents that are coming, and
Yeah,
everybody's trying to make a spot for the training camp roster.
yeah, yeah.
So what
And
happened? How many did you play 4 games and they got cut down into to an all-star game?
I think we played 3 games, maybe 4, and then it got cut down once, or maybe we played 2 games, then a cut, then we played 1 or 2 games, and then a cut for an all-star game. I don't honestly remember everything, but it was something like that. It was 2 cuts.
Yeah. What was your experience with the physicality?
I mean, I've always been a physical player, and I mean, protecting the puck is kind of my main strength. So I felt pretty confident in that part, but like you went so fast, and like the hockey, like everything on net, and like I was cool. It was a cool experience, and I for sure got a cold shower, or you even use that. I don't know. We it's a Swedish
Yeah.
saying.
Swedish
Yeah,
translation to
yeah,
a rude awakening, perhaps. But
yeah, rude awakening. And I was like, well, this seems fun. I enjoyed the hockey from the beginning, and I felt like this maybe could fit me better than playing before. So it was cool.
now Wisconsin, not necessarily the hockey mecca of North America.
No, but I mean the culture was great through
How was
through
the
the
rink?
years. It was cool. It was old. I think the Wisconsin Hockey Hall of Fame is in the rink, or it was, and it was a cool old rink, and I mean, kind of took me back to where it all started, and it was cool. It was a great atmosphere in there. It was loud, and the ice was kind of shitty, but it was still good. You learn to play on shitty ice too.
What
It
city
was
is Wendigo or Wisconsin Wendigo in?
It's in Eagle River, Wisconsin. It's like up north, close to I think closest like biggest town is Wausau, maybe Wausau.
Yeah, but
Green
you're
Bay
really
is
close to
2 hours away.
Minnesota, right?
Yeah, only 4 hours to
Yeah.
Minneapolis, St. Paul.
So is that where you flew into?
Yeah, so most the team got bought, got new owners. So the team used to be in Minnesota called Minnesota Magicians. So most of the guys were from Minnesota. So we had our main camp down in Minnesota. And then I like got to know a couple of guys from the team before the year before, and they kind of helped us with driving and stuff. So we flew in there, and I had all my trips from Sweden back and stuff like that through Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Well, I'm looking it up. So full transparency, never been to Wisconsin. I've been in the US for 30 years. That is nothing out there.
No, it's a small town, but it got its charm too. I
Yeah.
promise.
So all right, awesome. So you got the invite to the training camp, right?
Yeah.
So and like you're saying, you didn't have any expectations. Now you got the invite. And then did you go home after main camp or did you stay out
No, I stayed. We had our main camp up in Holden, Michigan,
there? Yeah.
where Michigan Tech plays, and we had it in their facilities. So I went up, and one of our owners lived there. So I stayed with him for a month almost because it would have been too much going back home and
Yep.
pretty expensive too. So it was nice getting in to learn the language for real, and getting into the hockey on smaller rinks. We skated a couple of times, so it was good for me to not go home and stay there instead.
Yeah. And you had another Swede with you, right?
Yeah, Albin. We grew up playing together, and we played all years. We moved to Frolunda at the same time, and moved to Wisconsin at the same time too. So yeah, we played. I think it was like 11 or 12 years together. No, it must have been more. Uh,
That's
all our
amazing.
hockey careers. So yeah, it was cool. It was nice to have someone with me that like you knew you were never alone. Like even though you wouldn't fit in into the team, which I did, but if I wouldn't, I had him. So and he had me. So it was nice.
That's awesome. So you had the ability to, so did he stay out there as well with the owner?
Yeah, yeah, he did.
What an awesome experience.
Yeah, it was cool.
So, all right, let's talk about Wisconsin Wendigo and the play in the NAHL. So you were out there and you have the ability to now play with this squad. I see there's another one too. No, so the two of you were on there, but if we fast forward, you led the team in points.
Yeah, I had a great season, and I mean, I don't think anyone expected me to go that well because I didn't produce a lot of points before, but I was confident in myself, and I had a good like rough start, but I got into it pretty quick, and I got the chance to play power play and penalty kill and all that stuff, and I felt confident, and I think the coach Blake had confidence in me too, so it went out well. And I
Yeah.
feel like it was the best season of my career so far for sure.
And Albin talk about that. He ended up with an injury and ended up going home.
Yeah,
How
it
was
felt
that?
like it was tough, but at the same time, I got into the team pretty quick. We both did, so it was easier to get over it since I got into the team that good. But it was tough in the beginning, see him leaving. Like we spent almost every day together at the time, so in Wisconsin. So and I knew like he loved to live there too. So it was tough, but I think he did good. Like going home too, he felt like it was a good decision.
Yeah, absolutely. So what was your billet situation? So did you stay with the owner the whole time, or did you have a billet family once the season started?
Yeah. So once this like we were done with training camp, we moved down to Eagle River, Wisconsin, and then we got our billets down there.
And how was that? Was that a good situation? Not everybody has a good one.
It was more than I've ever expected.
Wow.
It was
What?
great.
Tell me more.
No, great family. I mean, they cooked food. We were four guys staying there in the same room. That wasn't very big, but I mean, it kind of got us together, like closer to each other. And I mean, the billets were great. So nice people. Like they helped us whenever we needed help, and they cooked food and all that. And I was perfect.
Yeah. Did they have a younger kids that kind of looked up to you guys as well, or?
They didn't have any hockey players younger. They had one son that played out in Austria somewhere. But I think, maybe Germany, Austria or Germany.
Okay. So
So
they've
he
probably
wasn't
been
really
billet
home
families
much.
for a while.
No, they hadn't, but they kind of knew about how how to act like a good billet family since their son played in some leagues before.
Okay. Awesome.
So they were never billing themselves before, but their son had lived in a couple of billet families.
Yeah. All right, switching gears a little bit, because I think, you talking about going from juniors in Sweden, going to play in the North American Hockey League, and then, was the goal to play collegiate or in college, or was it to go back to Sweden? Was this going to be a year of fun, or was it like this is the portal to go to college?
I mean, both. I kind of went there and yeah, I do my best and I see where it goes. But I mean, as the season went, I mean, my eyes on going to college grew even more, even though I thought it was a fun thing to do and a cool thing to do when I got over there. And it was for sure like the reason, kind of one of the main reasons why I got over. But it grew on me once the season was going. And that was kind of my goal. But I, at the same time, looked at it as like it happens if it's supposed to happen. And if it don't happen, I'm gonna make sure I've done everything I can to make it happen. So
yeah. So how was that in terms of when? So did you go to the showcase in Blaine?
Yeah, we
in
did.
September.
Yeah, we did.
How was it to go to a rink what did you go to the one that had the 8 rinks?
Yeah, the super rink. It was super cool. It was really cool. I mean, we don't really have that in Sweden. That's like kind of enough rinks that we have in the Gothenburg area almost. So it was cool, but the ice was kind of shitty at the late in the week because a lot of games and it was hot, a lot of people. So, but it was a cool rink for sure.
Yeah, and lots and lots of scouts in the stands watching that. Did they approach you, or you said you had a little rough start in the beginning?
I mean, I talked to a couple of Division 3 scouts, but it was only like a quick. They wanted to like introduce themselves, and I know a lot of like scouts went down there talking, so it was a little bit of that for sure.
Yeah. So, and fast forwarding, then you're having a great year. Are you expecting? You're leading the team in points. Are you expecting the offers to be coming in, or what's the chatter like that in the locker room? I'm sure that that's what everybody's there for, is to get a D1 scholarship.
I mean, the dream was always there, and like my hopes were still up, like waiting to talk to someone. But I talked to a couple of Division 3 schools, didn't talk to any D1 schools, and at the end, my decision came down to go back home. But I mean, my hopes were still there to stay and play, but I tried to not think of it too much because I didn't want anything to affect my game. And I think I did pretty well, like keeping it out, thinking of it after games instead of in games, which I'm surprised by myself because like when I was younger, I had a lot of thoughts during games and during practice and like focused too much on stuff that I couldn't like affect. Sounds like a cliche, but it was actually true. Like I improved my game a lot, just like keeping stuff like that out
of
my mind.
I can only tell from the stats here of, there's like 32 teams in the NAHL. I wonder how many Swedes won their team in scoring or in points. Probably, I haven't looked at it, but you may be the only one. So I would say it takes a while for people to get into the North American game. So to go in right away and contribute like you did, that's pretty impressive. So, all right, let's move forward to then decision to then go home. And now you have you're not playing juniors anymore. So now you're going to be, you aged out. So now you're, so are you looking at, I want to play on an SHL team, or did you know right away that it's probably not going to be, that's not going to happen right away.
Yeah, I knew right away I wasn't good enough for like the SHL or Hockeyallsvenskan. So kind of looked into Division 1 at the start, and ended up here in Alvesta, and I'm pretty happy with that decision.
Yeah. So since I didn't know, where is Alvesta in Sweden?
It's in Småland, down like south, 2.5 hours from Gothenburg,
Yeah.
where I live, like where I used to live, and it's 20 minutes outside Växjö, who is a pretty successful SHL team. So,
And Hockeyettan, fun league. The towns like that has Hockeyettan teams, it's very competitive, and how does it compare to, so let me go and do this. How does it compare to go from J20 National to the North American Hockey League, first of all, level wise?
I think that question is hard. The skill level in Sweden is really high. It's the best Swedish players playing there, so the skill level is really high in Sweden. And in the NAHL, it's more like playing like a hockey player more than playing as a like kid.
Yeah.
Like you're allowed, you get away with like the dangles and stuff like that easier home in Sweden. And like if you're trying to dangle in the NAHL, you got to be really, really skilled, because someone's gonna try to hit you.
Yeah.
And I feel like the physical game is like higher or it's more hits and stuff like that in the US, but I think the skill level is a little bit higher home in Sweden.
So then,
especially like the top players.
So making the transition then from North American Hockey League to then over into Hockeyettan, or the third division with men. I mean, it's a fairly young, my dog is going to be barking here soon. It's a fairly young league, but there's also, if I'm pulling up the roster here, there's a lot of older players and experienced players as well in Hockeyettan.
Yeah, I think it's a great like league. I mean, I haven't played a lot. I only played 16 games before, and I was kind of like a junior getting there, like only played games, didn't practice a lot. So, but I mean, I think it could be a good experience, like learn from the players who played like senior hockey, like men's hockey before, and not like juniors. I mean, it's a different style of play, especially back home in Sweden. It's more like tactically, or do you say like more tactics in the games, like, and then less like just go out and play. But I mean, I haven't played a full season yet, so I guess I get the answer, or maybe not, but maybe I have the answer of that like after the season. It's hard to tell right now about the difference.
Yeah. So Alvesta, are they, let's see, so they are new in the they're one of the newcomers in Hockeyettan.
Yeah, they are. They went up from Division 2 last year to Hockeyettan.
So that's exciting. I mean, new league, new stuff. Plus, I do see that you have a goalie from Leksand, so that must be good.
Yeah.
6'5" goalie. That's not bad.
Yeah.
The other one is 6'6".
Yeah, both the goalies are so tall. It's crazy.
Oh, that's great. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Fun conversation about, I just think that doing a year like you have allows you to grow, allows you to experience things that you wouldn't have if you stayed.
Yeah, for sure.
And hopefully it makes you a stronger, better person, and definitely a better hockey player. So two things I want to round out with. Number one, if you were to meet up with let's see, you're 20 now, right? 21?
Yeah, 21.
You meet up with yourself at 17. And you have a lot more experience now, but what would you tell yourself that you didn't know then that you know now, if you had the opportunity?
I mean, just like stay confident in myself and like try to have fun more than like see it as a work at the time, because like when you practice that much you like kind of sees it as a work, but trying to just like have fun because everything else is gonna come with it. I think like keep working hard and work on the parts that like I needed to develop, and keep working on the parts, like listen to the coaches and like but still like do my own thing and like trying to, yeah, for sure having fun. I didn't really have fun a lot of time during those years because I put too much pressure on myself.
Yeah.
I kind of just like try to let it go and see where it goes. And yeah, for sure go over and play that last year was a great thing. So wouldn't say anything more than positive about doing that.
Awesome. All right. Last thing, we have a partnership with Target Aid, which so we have a campaign here where we're going to highlight each guest's choice of teams under the heading Klubben i mitt hjärta, the team in my heart. I got a feeling which one yours is going to be. Which one is it?
It's Lerums BK, my
Okay.
hometown
I
team.
didn't know if it's going to be Lerum or Frolunda, but Lerum, I
No,
love it.
yeah, I mean that's where I grew up and that's where I get back like as soon as I have time. And like my best friends, most of them like grew up playing there, and like that's where we all have our hearts. And I still have like the Lerum jersey on my wall. Like that's the only jersey I have actually. So it means a lot to me, and always like that's been my motivation through all these years. Like
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. And what we do, we have a presence on Target Aid. We're launching actually on Monday, I think. And each guest we're going to give a highlight to put so this is Victor Widlund, episode 69 or whatever it's going to be. I don't know yet.
Yeah.
When we release it, and then we will help promote. Not sure if Lerum is part of Target Aid already. They may have an initiative that we can help promote with some content and share that through our presence and our channel. And hopefully people can go and say, hey, what's Lerum's all about? And what makes Lerum special? You got an ambassador for Lerum that we're talking about that has done some pretty amazing things. And
I mean it's hard to compete with Louis Eriksson, Victor Stolberg, John Klingberg, and those guys. But I mean it's always something.
They didn't win the NAHL in the scoring title though. So
Victor Stolberg has a Stanley Cup, so I think that's a little bit higher.
It is a little bit higher, but hey, it's great. I mean, it's all about adding profiles and adding players that has passion for. Not every player. I want to say this too. Not every player will do what you're saying. This is my team. They have another team that they grew up with, but this is the team that you grew up with, and that is on your wall. Like I'm passionate about Leksand. You're passionate about Lerum, and awesome, and we'll do our part to promote it. Thanks for coming on, sharing your stories. Been cool, and hopefully we have a few people that says, "Ooh, that was pretty good."
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It's been a great time.